In the 5 seconds it takes a retail worker to, look at their screen, shake their head, and tell you, sorry, our system says we have it, but we actually don't, a business hasn't just lost a $50 sale.
Right. They've probably lost that customer for life.
Exactly. That localized inventory drift is, well, it's basically the ultimate retail nightmare. And today, we are doing a deep dive into the exact technology designed to kill that exact scenario.
Yeah, we are unpacking a really comprehensive 2026 guide on Shopify POS, point of sale for retail.
We're going straight into the mechanics of what they call unified commerce. We'll break down the true costs of the hardware and software and, honestly compare it against heavyweights like Square and Lightspeed.
Which is highly relevant whether you are scaling some massive multi-location brand or maybe you're just running a weekend pop-up.
Yeah, or honestly, even if you are just a consumer trying to understand the invisible data architecture that governs how you buy stuff today.
Oh, absolutely. Because the sheer volume of engineering required to ensure that a digital storefront and a physical cash register actually agree on the exact number of blue sweaters left in existence, it's just staggering.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand what Shopify POS can actually do, we first have to understand the architectural shift.
Right, you kind of have to abandon the old way of thinking.
Yeah. Like, think of a legacy POS system like an isolated island or like a locally saved Word document.
That's a great analogy.
The cash register sits on a counter, it records sales on its own internal hard drive all day, and maybe, I don't know, at midnight, it emails the final version to a central server to sync up.
And that local isolation is exactly what causes those inventory errors.
Right. But the architecture detailed in our sources shows that Shopify POS operates more like a hive mind or like Google Docs. The localized terminal isn't really a database at all.
No, it is just a thin client. That's the perfect way to conceptualize it. It's a cloud-native application built right on top of the Shopify platform.
So nothing is saved locally.
Exactly. When you look at the tablet sitting on the counter, literally none of your product catalog or your pricing structures or your customer profiles actually live on that device's local memory.
Wow.
Yeah, the terminal is just a window looking into your live Shopify admin in the cloud.
And I guess that continuous sync is what solves the nightmare scenario, right?
Spot on.
Because if I'm standing at a physical checkout counter and I tap my card to buy a ceramic mug, the cursor moves for everyone, everywhere, instantly.
Instantly. There is zero end-of-day batching.
The website knows that mug is gone the millisecond the payment gateway approves the swipe in the store.
What's fascinating here is how the system handles database conflicts. Engineers call it a race condition.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Well, let's say you have one final ceramic mug left in existence. A customer in your physical store is handing it to the cashier.
Okay.
But simultaneously, a shopper on their phone, maybe riding on a train, clicks checkout on that exact same CQ.
Oh, man. Who gets it?
Right. Because both the digital storefront and the physical POS are querying the exact same live database state, the architecture actually prevents the double sell.
So it just locks it?
Yeah, the system locks the inventory the moment the checkout process initiates on either end.
That is wild. And we should probably touch on the security mechanics of that architecture, too.
Oh, definitely.
Because since it's a thin client, the credit card data never actually hits the iPad storage.
Never. It bypasses it entirely.
Yeah, it routes directly through Shopify payments via tokenization. So, like, from a PCI compliance standpoint, the local device is completely out of the loop.
Right, which means if an employee accidentally knocks the store's terminal into a sink full of water.
Oops.
Yeah, total disaster, right?
Yeah.
But there is absolutely no data recovery process needed. You just pull a fresh device out of the box, log in, and the entire store is operational again in like 60 seconds.
Because the truth of the business lives in the cloud.
Exactly. Not at the physical counter, which just opens up a completely different operational reality for anyone running a physical space.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Because once you establish that live, unified cloud architecture, you unlock what the industry calls omnichannel retail.
Which is a huge buzzword, I know.
It is. But the sources break down real features here, like buy online, pick up in-store, or Bobby Eyes ship from store, and local delivery.
Yeah, those are the superpowers of this system.
But I have to push back hard on this for a second.
Okay, let's hear it.
Sure. Turning a retail location into a micro-fulfillment center removes friction for the buyer. But aren't you just transferring that friction to the 19-year-old retail worker on the floor?
That is a very fair point.
Like, how does the POS software actually help them manage this dual workflow? They're ringing up a walk-in customer while simultaneously trying to pack a shipping box for an online order.
Without completely dropping the ball, yeah. That is the operational bottleneck that makes or breaks omnichannel retail.
Right. Does it just turn a beautiful retail store into a chaotic warehouse?
Well, if the software just sent a barrage of raw notifications to the checkout screen, yes, it would be pure chaos.
So how do they fix that?
The way Shopify POS structurally handles this is through dedicated UI modes and really intelligent routing logic. The terminal interface actively segments the tasks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and an associate can literally switch the interface from checkout mode, which is optimized purely for speed and scanning barcodes, into fulfillment mode.
So it's basically siloing the tasks based on the current floor traffic. If the store is empty, they just flip to fulfillment.
Precisely. And then the software walks them through a digital pick and pack list. It even prioritizes orders based on shipping deadlines.
Oh, wow.
It's super smart. It allows the staff to print the FedEx or UPS shipping labels directly from the receipt printer on the counter.
That is so seamless.
Yeah, the software essentially guides the worker through the warehouse logistics so they don't have to mentally juggle the two realities. And then when a customer walks in...
They just tap a button.
Exactly. One tap, the screen reverts to a cash register, and they are back to traditional retail.
Okay, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains why clienteling has become such a massive focus in this 2026 guide.
Clienteling is huge right now.
Yeah, we talk about bridging the digital and physical divide, but clienteling is really the ultimate data unification strategy. Like, if I walk into a high-end boutique, the floor associate doesn't have to guess my preferences anymore.
Right. They can just pull up your customer profile on their mobile terminal.
And instantly see my entire online purchase history. They can literally see that I left a specific pair of boots in my online cart 3 days ago.
And that context just completely changes the nature of the interaction. The associate is no longer starting from zero. They are picking up a conversation that actually started digitally.
It's honestly a little spooky, but incredibly effective.
Yeah. But as the guide clearly outlines, unlocking that level of sophisticated UI routing and data access requires specific software tiers. It's not all free.
Which brings us to the paywall. Because Shopify forces you to decide exactly how much retail complexity your specific operation actually needs.
Yep, you have to choose your tier.
They divide this into POS Lite and POS Pro. So POS Lite is the baseline. It's included for free with any Shopify plan, even the entry-level $39 basic tier.
Right, and Lite gives you one register and standard in-person selling. It is basically like a trusty food truck setup.
Good analogy.
It's functional for an occasional pop-up market. But if you are managing a permanent retail footprint, you're going to want Pro, which is like the full restaurant kitchen.
Okay, so at what point does a business absolutely have to upgrade to Pro?
Well, the threshold for upgrading to POS Pro, which runs $89 a month per location, by the way, isn't just about store size. It is really about specific operational bottlenecks.
Meaning what exactly?
Pro is what unlocks the omnichannel features we just discussed. But more importantly, it unlocks advanced staff management and granular inventory control, like stock transfers and purchase orders.
Okay, but $89 a month per location. That adds up.
It does. But the ROI calculation on that $89 is actually incredibly straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about roughly $2.93 a day.
Okay, break that down for me.
If having POS Pro saves your operation just 3 hours of manual labor per month, assuming, say, a standard $30 an hour fully loaded labor cost, the software has literally paid for itself.
Oh, wow. Yeah, when you put it like that.
And it easily saves those 3 hours just by eliminating the blind spots in staff attribution.
Because with Lite, all the sales flow through a single generic terminal login, right?
Exactly. But with Pro, you have individual staff PIN-ins and role-based permissions.
So you know exactly who did what.
Yes. You know which cashier processed a specific return, who applied a manual discount, and who is driving the highest average order value.
That level of accountability really makes it an operational necessity, not just a luxury. But we also have to factor in the physical hardware required to run these tiers.
Oh, absolutely. The hardware is a big part of this.
Yeah, because you cannot run a cloud-synced, enterprise-grade software platform on some 10-year-old legacy cash drawer.
Definitely not.
If you are running that simple pop-up, You can just grab a $49 tap and chip reader and pair it via Bluetooth to an iPad you already own.
Super easy and cheap.
But for a permanent setup, the sources highlight the all-in-one POS terminal, which runs between $349 to $459.
And notice the shift in hardware strategy there. That dedicated POS terminal is actually an Android-based device, not an iPad.
Wait, really? Why Android?
It's a proprietary, locked-down Android environment. By doing that, Shopify prevents employees from accidentally closing the POS app or getting distracted by other applications.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and it stops unexpected iOS background updates from freezing the system during peak checkout hours. It is an appliance dedicated entirely to the software.
That makes a lot of sense. So what does this all mean for the bottom line? You are shelling out a few $100s up front for the hardware, plus $89 a month for the Pro software tier. But reading through the breakdown, the upfront costs and the monthly subscriptions are really just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah, the long-term financial reality of running this ecosystem is dictated entirely by the hidden math of credit card processing rates.
This is the brilliant trap of processing rates,
It
honestly.
really is. And it is where the economics of unified commerce reveal themselves. Because, as you know, in person, card-present transactions naturally carry lower processing rates than online checkouts.
Right. Due to the drastically reduced fraud risk, you are physically tapping a cryptographic chip, so the credit card networks give the merchant a break on the rate.
Exactly. But the underlying math here is entirely driven by how Shopify leverages those rates to incentivize software upgrades.
Right. So if you are on the baseline basic plan, your in-person rate is 2.6% plus 10 cents per transaction.
Right.
But if you upgrade your core e-commerce platform to the advanced plan, your in-person rate drops to 2.4% plus 10 cents.
And that 0.2% is the lever that moves the entire ecosystem.
It sounds so tiny.
It does. But Shopify actively wants you to realize that by spending an extra $1,000 a year on a premium software subscription, you unlock a microscopic discount on card swipes that could save a high-volume business like $5,000 a year.
You are literally buying your way into cheaper transaction fees.
You are.
So let's map out the real-world scale of this. The guide provides a really stark comparison. A single pop-up using the basic plan in POS Lite is spending around $468 a year on software.
Very manageable.
But a growing 3-location business that strategically upgrades to the advanced plan to get that 2.4% rate, and they're paying for POS Pro at all 3 locations. They are dropping almost $8,000 a year just on software subscription.
Yeah, it is an ecosystem designed to make the most expensive software tier the most logical financial choice you can make, assuming your sales volume crosses that mathematical threshold, of course.
Right, where the fee savings outpace the subscription cost. But look, no architecture is flawless.
Definitely not.
Despite the real-time continuous sync and the brilliantly calculated economics, our sources point out a massive Achilles heel. This system has a critical vulnerability that makes competitors like Square and Lightspeed the undeniable choice in very specific scenarios.
Yeah, this brings us back to your Google Docs metaphor from earlier. The greatest strength of a live cloud-native application is also its single point of failure.
The internet connection.
Exactly. If the internet connection severs, the localized terminal has no central brain to query.
The offline flaw. Wait, so if my store's Wi-Fi drops on Black Friday, I'm stuck doing cash only? That seems like a massive vulnerability.
It is. Card transactions will literally fail. And this isn't just a minor glitch either. This is a deliberate architectural philosophy on their part.
Deliberate? Why?
Because Shopify is so relentlessly tied to maintaining real-time inventory truth across the global network, they simply refuse to cache a credit card transaction locally.
Wow. Which is a fundamental contrast to how Square engineers their system.
Exactly. Square prioritizes transaction completion over immediate inventory synchronization.
So what happens when a Square terminal loses internet access?
It allows for offline payments with delayed settlement. It securely stores the encrypted payment token locally on the device's flash memory.
So the cashier just hands the customer their receipt, the line keeps moving, and the system quietly waits to process those tokens the second the internet comes back online.
Exactly. It's totally seamless for the customer.
But wait, that delayed settlement introduces a massive risk, doesn't it? What happens if a customer buys a $500 item offline, and when the system finally reconnects 2 hours later, the credit card gets declined for insufficient funds?
Well, the customer is already gone.
So the merchant eats the loss.
The merchant eats the loss. That is the trade-off. Square forces the business owner to accept the risk of a declined offline card in exchange for never having to halt the checkout line.
Ah, I see.
Whereas Shopify entirely eliminates the risk of a declined card, but they force you to halt the line if the network goes down.
So you absolutely must have a dedicated 5G mobile hotspot as a failsafe if you run Shopify POS.
100%. You cannot risk it.
And beyond the offline flaw, Shopify's ecosystem is pretty rigid. You are logged into iOS or their specific Android hardware. You cannot run this via a web browser on a Windows PC.
No, you can't.
It also lacks native support for complex layaway structures or, partial deposit workflows without stacking third-party apps on top of your monthly bill.
Which raises an important question. How does an operator actually choose between these platforms, given these architectural trade-offs?
Right. Like, what about Lightspeed?
Well, if you look at Lightspeed, their software is significantly more expensive. It runs up to $289 a month just for the base tier. But it is built for environments that Shopify really struggles with. Like if you were running a high-SKU golf pro shop or a restaurant where you need to track raw ingredient depletion down to the ounce.
Oh, like tracking how much cheese goes on a pizza.
Exactly. Lightspeed has the deep, granular purchase order workflows engineered specifically for that level of complexity.
So it really boils down to your existing digital footprint.
I think so, yeah.
If you already operate a high-volume Shopify e-commerce store, adopting Shopify POS is the only logical choice. Because trying to run Square physical registers while maintaining a Shopify website means you are relying on third-party middleware APIs to constantly stitch your inventory back together.
And that API lag is exactly how you end up back in the nightmare scenario of selling a product you no longer possess.
Yeah.
You are inherently fighting the architecture.
Right. But if you are a strictly brick-and-mortar operation with absolutely zero intention of selling online,
then the unified commerce features of Shopify are entirely wasted on you.
in that scenario, Square just provides a frictionless, highly capable cash register with the safety net of offline processing.
Perfectly said.
So, to pull all these threads together, we started with the fundamental problem of localized inventory drift. We explored how shifting from a legacy hard drive model to a cloud-native real-time sync eliminates that disconnect.
Which unlocks omnichannel logistics like ship from store and deep clienteling.
Exactly. We calculated the exact ROI of upgrading to the $89 a month Pro tier and exposed the hidden math of buying your way into lower transaction fees.
And finally, we weighed the very real vulnerability of relying on a system that demands a flawless internet connection to function.
Yeah. It requires a strategic understanding of your own operational bottlenecks. Because you are not just buying a cash register, you are subscribing to an ecosystem that dictates exactly how your floor staff interacts with your customers.
That's the biggest takeaway here.
So for you listening, the next time you browse a store's website on your phone, walk into their physical location 20 minutes later, and the associate already knows exactly what you were looking for.
You now understand the invisible web of tokenized data, cloud synchronization, and hidden processing fees that makes that seamless interaction possible.
You are looking right at the underlying matrix of modern retail.
It literally transforms a simple checkout counter into an incredibly sophisticated data node.
It absolutely does. And I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder that builds on this exact trajectory.
Okay, lay it on me.
If centralized unified commerce is already aggregating our online browsing history and our physical purchase data so flawlessly to enable features like clienteling, how long until these localized POS terminals integrate predictive AI?
Oh, wow.
Right. Imagine walking into a physical space and before you even approach the counter, the system has cross-referenced your past purchase intervals, your current geolocation, and predictive behavioral models, preemptively instructing the associate to retrieve the exact item you intend to buy before you even ask for it.
The digital brain and the physical reality completely indistinguishable from one another.
Exactly. Something to think about the next time you go shopping. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.